The other thing that's really interesting is that if you poll people, the majority of people believe in some afterlife. They believe that in some way we, the essence of who we are, continues beyond physical death. But less people believe in us existing prior to coming into the body and in utero experience. But I see it as a continuum.
Right. So one doesn't preclude the other.
Exactly.
So then again, what's the point? What's the use of it, let's say? Give me examples.
Okay. The typical, every session is different. No session is exactly like the last, but many people will come because maybe they have a phobia. They want to find the origins to that phobia. They may have a pattern that they want to find the origins to. They may have a relationship that's particularly sticky. They don't understand this relationship. They may see that their life is a vicious cycle and they keep attracting the same things over and over again. And some part of them understands that there's got to be more to this.
So I'm going to interrupt you here, you know, and I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I just want to ask you all the questions that my audience might want to ask. So if you have a vicious cycle in your relationship cycle and you keep repeating these patterns, on the one hand, you could go and say, well, that's just a psychological thing. You haven't resolved some past issue. So it's some incompletion from, you know,
right,
that keeps repeating itself until you finally wake up and go, oh, wait a minute, that's what happened and that's
right,
why I'm doing this. Why would you, what is it that makes the leap from that to previous lifetime?
In either situation, the outcome very often is the same. The person gets some relief from some realization that they have. But a lot of the time when it's a past life, not only is it an insight that helps them to understand themselves better, but on a whole other level, it makes them recognize that they are more than their physical body, that they are a soul, that there is so much more to them, and that experience, that direct experience as well, has broader healing implications. So the whole process is very healing in addition to that specific information.
It's really interesting because, you know, I happen to believe all this stuff, but that's irrelevant. The thing is that there's, if I, sitting at, from an objective kind of logical point of view, I could say it's just wishful thinking. You know, you have no way of explaining the past or what's going on in your life, so you kind of create this fantasy life that then is running this life. Now you have a reason or an excuse, and big whoop. You know, what is it really doing for you?
It may be completely, you're right, symbolic metaphor. And there's no way of proving, there's just no book to look it up in when somebody
Right.
has a past life memory. In this particular experience, it's an experience of belief and faith. That's why it's good to have it as a direct experience, because you know when you know something, you just know it. It resonates for you. People often ask after they have the experience, was that real? They ask that. Sometimes that's the first thing that people ask. They come out of the experience, it seemed like such a powerful experience, and yet as soon as they come out of the experience, their mind, doubting mind kicks in and they say that. So I will say, well, how did it feel to you? Do you feel lighter? Does it make sense to you? Do you feel something in your heart, in your emotions? And how about those tears that came through? Can that come from conjuring of wishful thinking? I guess, but most likely not. It was a powerful experience, you know, that came from there.
So when you say when they come out of it, so that then implies they're going into it. What's the process of going into it?
Okay, maybe that's not the best way of saying it. But
okay, we can erase
but
that.
No, that's so the process, in other words, what does it entail? What does
Yes.
it look like when I have someone in my office and I'm working with them? It's not as mystical or mysterious as well. People may be disappointed in terms of that, because past life regression is a process of memory recall. So how am I going to help them to remember their past lives? First of all, I want to help them to relax, Because whenever, you know, when you're trying to remember something, if you're all stressed out and your mind is running a mile a minute, it's really hard to remember because of all that static. So the first thing I need to do is to help them to center and to quiet down. So to help them relax and begin to put the conscious mind on hold for a while, the part of them that analyzes things, I use relaxation techniques, very simple relaxation techniques. I use hypnotic language, suggestions, ways of saying things, drawing them inside, moving their attention from their thoughts more into a deeper place. And then together I lead them on a journey. Once I engage their mind, I lead them on an imagery journey, a sensory journey that helps to then tap into the subconscious mind.
So does everybody have an experience of vivid memory, or is it just a feeling, a sense of something, or is it different for everyone?
It's different for everyone, and even though and in every session it can be different for that same person.
Oh, that's interesting.
Memory, there's no way to put our finger on and find a formula and a way to describe memory in general. So past life memories are not much different than the way memory works in this life. So for some people, they experience it immediately as vivid, as living color, as very feeling and sensory oriented. They may see it from the third person as an observer watching a movie. They may experience it from the first person looking through the eyes of another body. They may go back and forth between those two ways of experiencing it. For some people, it's fragmented images, little tiny snapshots. It can be blurry, it can be vague, but nonetheless, most people that I work with have an experience of some type.
So I want to kind of articulate the process. So somebody comes to you with a presenting issue, and it's not like an issue problem, it's just they may feel stuck or they just want what's next for them.
Right.
So you do this inquiry, some of it is psychological, and then depending on the situation, you may do a past life regression. Sometimes they come to you specifically for that. Can you give me an example of a result?
Sure. Recently I worked with someone who went into a past life and remembered that she was a servant. Throughout that entire life. She was trapped. She was bound. Yes, not really. And she left that life unhappily and certainly didn't fulfill her purpose.
So it's not necessarily the previous lifetime consecutively. Could it be like 4 lifetimes ago that she's still carrying this with her, or is it usually the most recent?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But I do know that the subconscious mind will always show us what's most needed.
Okay,
so
great.
it is always connected. I never worry about that.
Connected to something that she
Connected
needs.
usually to her intention, to the
Okay.
person's intention, and that's an important part of it. We make sure we set an intention as we're going in, and then I always assume and trust that the subconscious mind is going to show us whatever is most needed. And I've
Really
hardly been
great.
disappointed.
So then how was this servitude impacting her current life, and then what happened after she saw this lifetime?
She could recognize her pattern so much more from seeing it in that other life. She recognized and felt that she was still carrying that sense of being trapped, of being limited. She had a hard time in this life saying no to people. She was always doing everything for everybody else, never put herself first, never paid attention to herself or took care of herself. And when she recognized that, she felt a renewed sense of wanting to go back into her life and really change that, because for heaven's sake, she didn't want to carry it over again into the next life. So it really gives people a boost in their motivation when they see it on that broader continuum. Wow, I've been carrying it lifetime after lifetime. I think that's enough.
And the interesting thing is, you know, there are a lot of people who have that same issue, and it doesn't mean that it's a past life thing.
Doesn't necessarily.
But for her, because she saw this kind of being trapped issue, and it was enough to make her want to do something about it, and she was lucky to, you know, then go into the place where it was needed, and she saw that.